The sound of the deadbolt sliding shut echoed through the midnight silence, like a gunshot. Adanna stood barefoot on the cold concrete hallway of their apartment building in Victoria Island, Lagos, her trembling hands clutching nothing but her phone and the thin nightgown that clung to her shivering body. Behind that locked door was everything she owned, her clothes, her jewelry, her marriage certificate, and 15 years of memories with Chike, the man who had just thrown her out like garbage. "Chike, please!" she screamed, pounding on the mahogany door until her fists ached. "At least let me get my clothes. My purse. Chike." Nothing. Just the hum of the generator downstairs and her own ragged breathing. Inside the apartment, she could hear movement, footsteps, then a woman's laugh, high-pitched, young, triumphant, the kind of laugh that twisted like a knife in Adanna's chest. What would you do if you walked in on this? Hit like if you've been betrayed, and comment below where you're watching from. 2 hours earlier, Adanna had returned home from her mother's house in Surulere, where she'd spent the evening helping care for her aging father. She'd texted Chike to let him know she was coming home late, but he never replied. When she pushed open their apartment door at 10 p.m., she found him on the sofa with his phone pressed to his ear, his face tight with irritation. "You're back," he said flatly, not looking up. "Yes." Traffic was terrible on 3rd Mainland Bridge. Adanna set down her bag, noticing the empty bottle of whiskey on the coffee table. "Have you eaten?" "I brought jollof rice from Mama." "I'm not hungry." His tone was ice. "And we need to talk." Those 4 words. Every wife knew what they meant. Adanna's stomach dropped. Talk about what? Chike finally looked at her. His eyes, once warm, once loving, were cold and distant. "Your insomnia is affecting me. Adanna, I can't sleep. I can't think. I can't function at work. You toss and turn all night. You get up 50 times. You watch TV at 3 a.m. with the volume up. I'm exhausted." Adanna's insomnia had started 6 months ago, around the time she'd noticed Chike becoming distant. The doctor said it was stress, possibly anxiety. She'd tried herbal teas, meditation apps, even sleeping pills. Nothing worked. And yes, she knew it bothered Chike, but she thought they were working through it together. "I'm trying, Chike. I have an appointment with a specialist next week." "I don't care about next week." He stood abruptly, his 6-foot frame towering over her. "I need sleep now. My boss has threatened to fire me because I keep dozing off in meetings. Do you know what that means? We could lose everything." "Then sleep in the guest room." "I've told you this before." "The guest room?" He laughed bitterly. "You mean the storage room filled with your mother's old furniture and boxes of baby clothes you're saving for a child we'll never have?" The cruelty of that statement hit Adanna like a slap. They'd struggled with infertility for years, a wound that never fully healed. "That's not fair," she whispered, tears burning her eyes. "You know what's not fair? Living with someone who won't let me rest in my own home." Chike grabbed his car keys from the table. "I'm going out. Don't wait up." He didn't come home that night, or the next 3 nights. When he finally returned on the 4th day, he came with a woman, young, pretty, wearing a tight dress and expensive perfume. She walked into their home like she owned it. "Chike, who is this?" Adanna had asked, her voice shaking. "This is Ngozi. She's going to be staying here for a while." "Staying? In our home? Are you mad?" Ngozi smiled sweetly, but her eyes were venomous. "Actually, it's Chike's home. His name is on the lease, not yours." That's when everything shattered. The arguments, the accusations, the revelation that Chike had been seeing Ngozi for months. And tonight, when Adanna refused to leave voluntarily, Chike had physically dragged her to the door and locked her out. Now, standing in that hallway at midnight, Adanna realized the truth. The insomnia had never been the real problem. It had been an excuse, a convenient weapon to justify what Chike had already decided to do. Her phone buzzed. A text from her neighbor, Mrs. Okafor. "I saw everything through my peephole. Come to my flat. 4B. Adanna wiped her tears and walked down the hall on numb feet. As she reached Mrs. Okafor's door, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from an unknown number. "Your husband doesn't know who he's messing with. Trust me, you'll get your revenge. Adanna's blood ran cold. Who was this? And how did they know what had just happened? What do you think that mysterious text means? Is someone watching Adanna's every move? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more gripping stories like this. Comment below what you think happens next, and if you've ever been betrayed like Adanna. Mrs. Okafor's apartment smelled of groundnut soup and camphor oil. The older woman, wrapped in her traditional Ankara wrapper despite the late hour, guided Adanna to her floral sofa and immediately wrapped a thick blanket around her shoulders. Adanna couldn't stop shaking, not from cold, but from shock, rage, and humiliation that burned through her veins like poison. "Drink this, my dear," Mrs. Okafor said, pressing a cup of hot tea into Adanna's trembling hands. "You're safe here." Safe. The word felt foreign. How could she be safe when her entire life had just been ripped apart? "Did you see her?" Adanna's voice cracked. "That girl, Ngozi. Did you see how young she is? She can't be more than 25. Mrs. Okafor's face hardened with disgust. "I saw everything, Adanna. I heard the shouting. I saw him drag you out. That man has no shame, no decency." She sat beside Adanna, her weather hand gripping the younger woman's. "But you need to think clearly now. Don't let emotion cloud your judgment. Men like Chike, they think they can discard their wives like old clothes. But they forget that we women have power too." Adanna looked down at her phone, at that strange message still glowing on the screen. "Your husband doesn't know who he's messing with. Trust me, you'll get your revenge." "Mrs. Okafor, look at this." She showed the older woman the text. "Who could have sent this? How did they know what happened?" Mrs. Okafor squinted at the screen. Then her eyes widened with recognition. Or was it fear? She quickly handed the phone back. "I don't know, but you should delete it. Don't respond. You don't know who's watching or what they want." But Adanna's finger hovered over the screen. Something about the message felt almost protective, like someone was on her side in this nightmare. Before she could decide, her phone rang. Chike's name flashed across the screen. Her heart hammered against her ribs. "Don't answer it," Mrs. Okafor warned. But Adanna's anger overrode caution. She swiped to accept. "What do you want? Where are you?" Chike's voice was sharp, annoyed, not apologetic, not remorseful. Annoyed. "Where am I? You threw me out of our home at midnight. Chike, in my nightgown. What did you think I would do? Sleep in the corridor? Don't be dramatic. Adanna, I just need to know you're not doing something stupid, like going to your family or calling the police. This is between us. A private matter." The audacity, the sheer, breathtaking audacity of this man. "A private matter?" Adanna's voice rose despite herself. "You move your mistress into our home. You physically remove me from the apartment. And you're worried about me making this public? Lower your voice. Ngozi can hear you. I don't care what that prostitute hears. Don't call her that." Chike's tone turned dangerous. "Look, I'm willing to let you come back tomorrow to collect your things. But I need you to be reasonable. Sign the papers I prepared. A simple separation agreement stating you left voluntarily due to irreconcilable differences. No drama, no police, no lawyers. You get your belongings. I give you 200,000 naira for relocation, and we part ways like adults." Adanna's mouth dropped open. He'd already prepared papers. This wasn't a spontaneous decision born from frustration about her insomnia. This was calculated, planned, premeditated domestic betrayal. "How long?" she whispered. "How long have you been planning this?" Silence on the other end. Then, "Does it matter? Just sign the papers. Adanna, don't make this harder than it needs to be. And if I refuse, then you get nothing. The apartment is in my name. The car is in my name. You have no job, no income, and no legal right to anything. You'll be fighting a battle you can't win. Take the money, take your dignity, and move on." The line went dead. Adanna sat frozen, the phone slipping from her numb fingers. 200,000 naira. That's what 15 years of marriage, of sacrifice, of standing by him through his failed business ventures and family drama was worth to him. Less than $300. Mrs. Okafor retrieved the phone from the floor. "That bastard," she muttered. "He thinks you're weak. He thinks you'll just disappear quietly." "Maybe I should," Adanna said hollowly. "What choice do I have? He's right. Everything is in his name. I gave up my teaching job when we got married because he wanted me to focus on trying to have children. I have no savings of my own. Nothing. You have something more powerful than money, my dear." Mrs. Okafor's eyes glinted with something fierce and knowing. "You have truth, and you have allies you don't even know about yet." Before Adanna could ask what she meant, another text arrived. "Same unknown number. Check your email. Now, the password is your mother's maiden name. Don't show anyone, not even Mrs. Okafor." Adanna's blood turned to ice. Whoever this was, they were watching. They were listening. They knew she was in Mrs. Okafor's apartment right now. With shaking hands, she opened her email app. There, sitting in her inbox, was a message from an encrypted address. Subject line: "The truth about Chike and Gozi." She clicked it open. What she saw made her stomach lurch. Bank statements, photos, hotel receipts, flight bookings to Abuja and Dubai, all in Chike's name, all with Ngozi, dating back 8 months, long before the insomnia started. And the amounts, hundreds of thousands, possibly millions of naira spent on this girl. Money that should have been going to their household, to her elderly parents, to their future. But that wasn't the most damning evidence. At the bottom of the email was a scanned document, a marriage certificate, Chike's name at the top. But the bride's name wasn't Adanna's. It was Ngozi's, dated 3 weeks ago. Chike had married his mistress while still legally married to Adanna. He was a bigamist, and bigamy was a criminal offense in Nigeria. Adanna looked up at Mrs. Okafor, her entire body trembling with a cocktail of rage, betrayal, and something new, something that felt dangerously close to power. "He's going to regret this," she whispered. "I'm going to make sure he loses everything." Her phone buzzed one final time. "Good. Now you're ready. Tomorrow morning, go to this address. Someone wants to help you destroy him." An address in Ikoyi appeared on the screen, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in Lagos. Who is this mysterious person helping Adanna? And what will she find at that Ikoyi address? Drop a like if you're Team Adanna, and comment below what you think Chike deserves. Don't forget to share this story with someone who loves a good revenge plot. The morning sun blazed over Lagos, turning the city's chaos into a shimmering haze of heat and exhaust fumes. Adanna stood outside a towering glass building in Ikoyi, her borrowed dress from Mrs. Okafor hanging loose on her frame. She'd barely slept, her mind racing through the evidence she'd received, through scenarios of confrontation and revenge that played like movies in her head. But nothing prepared her for what or who she was about to meet. The address led to the 15th floor, a sleek reception area with marble floors and modern art on the walls. The nameplate on the door read, "Obayaku and Associates, Legal Consultants." Before Adanna could announce herself, the receptionist looked up with a knowing smile. "Mrs. Okonkwo, please go right in. She's expecting you." "She?" Adanna pushed open a heavy wooden door and stepped into an office that screamed power and money. Behind an imposing mahogany desk sat a woman in her early 40s, her natural hair styled in an elegant afro, her tailored navy suit fitting perfectly. She radiated the kind of confidence that came from winning battles. Lots of them. "Adanna Okonkwo." The woman stood, extending her hand. "I'm Barrister Chidima Obayaku. Please sit." Adanna remained standing, suspicious and confused. "How do you know who I am? Who sent those messages? What's going on?" Chidima's smile was sad but understanding. "All fair questions. But first, let me tell you a story." She gestured the chair again, and this time Adanna sat, her legs suddenly weak. 5 years ago, I sat exactly where you're sitting now. Devastated, humiliated, thrown out of my own home by a husband who thought I was disposable. He had a mistress, too. Younger, prettier, or so he thought. He moved her in, just like Chike did with Ngozi. Adanna's breath caught. "How do you know about—" "I know everything, Adanna, because someone helped me back then, just like I'm going to help you now. Chidinma opened a folder on her desk. That someone taught me that knowledge is power, that evidence is ammunition, and that men like our husbands count on our silence. They count on our shame. They count on us being too broken to fight back. Who helped you? A network of women. Wives, mothers, sisters, all of us betrayed, all of us survivors. We watch, we listen, we document, and when the time is right, we strike. Chidinma slid the folder across the desk. I've been watching Chike for 6 months, ever since Ngozi started showing up at his office during lunch breaks. I knew this was coming. The Insomnia story was just an excuse I was waiting for him to use. Adanna opened the folder with trembling hands. Inside was everything and more. Photos of Chike and Ngozi at expensive restaurants in Victoria Island. Screenshots of explicit messages. Withdrawal slips showing he drained their joint savings account. And worst of all, proof that Chike had taken out a loan of 5 million naira using their apartment as collateral without her knowledge or signature. A forgery that could send him to prison. He forged my signature on multiple documents. The loan, a contract selling your late grandmother's land in Enugu, land that was left to you, not him. He's been systematically stealing from you for months, preparing to leave you with nothing. Chidinma's voice was steel-wrapped in silk, but he made mistakes. Sloppy, arrogant mistakes. And now we have him. Adanna's hand shook as she flipped through page after page of betrayal. Why are you doing this for me? What do you want in return? I want what you want. Justice. Revenge. And I want to add another victory to my record. Chidinma leaned forward, her eyes blazing with intensity. But more than that, I want to stop men like Chike from thinking they can destroy women and walk away unscathed. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to file for divorce, but not a quiet one. We're going to expose his bigamy, his fraud, his theft. We're going to make sure he loses the apartment, his job, his reputation, and possibly his freedom. His job. Adanna's heart hammered. Chike worked as a senior manager at a prestigious bank in Lagos. His reputation was everything to him. His bank has a strict morality clause in their employment contract. Bigamy, fraud, forgery. Any of these would be grounds for immediate termination and blacklisting from the financial sector. He'll never work in banking again. Chidinma smiled coldly. Ngozi, that marriage is invalid because he was already married to you. She's not a wife. She's just a mistress who'll be left with nothing when we're done. Adanna felt something dark and powerful unfurling in her chest. After years of being told she wasn't enough, not fertile enough, not quiet enough, not accommodating enough, she was finally being handed the tools to fight back. But doubt crept in, cold and insidious. What if this backfires? What if he comes after me? He has money, connections. Had money, Chidinma corrected. Past tense. By the end of today, his bank accounts will be frozen pending investigation into the fraudulent loan. The apartment will be seized as evidence. And I've already filed a restraining order on your behalf, which will be served to him this afternoon. He won't be able to come near you. This fast? How is this possible? Because I have friends in very high places. Adanna, judges who are tired of seeing women destroyed by greedy men. Police commissioners whose sisters and daughters have suffered similar fates. We're not alone in this fight. Chidinma stood, walking around the desk to place a firm hand on Adanna's shoulder. But I need you to be strong. There will be pushback. Chike will try to intimidate you. His family will call you wicked, vindictive, a bad wife. Society will judge you for not being quiet and forgiving. Can you handle that? Adanna thought about last night. The cold hallway. The sound of Ngozi's laughter. Chike's cruel voice on the phone offering her 200,000 naira like she was a beggar. Something inside her, something that had been dormant for years, ignited. Yes, she said firmly. I can handle it. Good. Chidinma returned to her desk and pulled out a document. Sign this retainer agreement. My fees will come from Chike's seized assets, so you don't pay anything up front. And then we begin. Adanna signed without hesitation, her signature bold and decisive. As she stood to leave, Chidinma called out, one more thing. Don't go back to Mrs. Okafor's apartment. Chike will figure out you're there. I have a safe house in Lekki where you'll stay until this is over. A driver is waiting downstairs to take you there now." Adanna nodded, but as she reached the door, her phone buzzed. A call from her mother. "Mama?" she answered. "Adanna?" Her mother's voice was frantic, panicked. "Where are you?" "Chike just called me. He said you've gone mad, that you've been threatening him in Gozi, that you stole money from him and ran away. He's filing a police report against you for theft and harassment. He says if you don't return what you stole and apologize publicly, he'll make sure you go to prison." Adanna's blood turned to ice. She looked at Chidinma, who had clearly overheard the conversation. The lawyer's expression was grim. He's making his move, trying to paint you as the villain before you can expose him. "What do I do?" Adanna whispered, fear creeping back in. "You don't panic. This is exactly what we expected." Chidinma grabbed her phone, already dialing. "Let him file his false report. It'll just add another charge to his growing list of crimes. But we need to move faster than I thought. The restraining order needs to be served within the hour, and we need to get you somewhere safe before he tries something desperate." As if on cue, Adanna's phone exploded with notifications. Text messages, Facebook messages, WhatsApp groups, all from family members, from mutual friends, from people she'd known for years, all with the same message. Chike was telling everyone that Adanna had stolen from him, that she was mentally unstable, that she was dangerous. Her reputation, carefully built over 15 years, was being demolished in real time. And then came the message that made her heart stop. From Chike, "You have 24 hours to come back, sign the papers, and disappear quietly. If you don't, I'll make sure your father's medical bills stop being paid. He'll die in that hospital, and it'll be your fault. Choose wisely." Chike is threatening Adanna's sick father. Will she back down to save him? Or will she continue the fight? Comment below what you do in her situation. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're just getting started with this revenge story. The safe house in Lekki was a modest 2-bedroom apartment tucked away in a quiet compound, far from the prying eyes of Victoria Island's gossip networks. But Adanna couldn't appreciate the safety. She sat on the edge of bed, her phone clutched in her white-knuckled grip, reading Chike's threat over and over until the words blurred together. "Your father's medical bills stop being paid. He'll die. Your fault." Her father, Chief Emeka Nwosu, had suffered a stroke 3 months ago. He was in a private hospital in Ikeja, receiving round-the-clock care that cost nearly 300,000 naira per week. Adanna had assumed Chike was paying those bills from their joint account, the same account he'd apparently drained to fund his affair with Ngozi. She dialed her mother's number with shaking fingers. "Mama, Papa's hospital. Has the bill been paid this month?" Her mother's voice trembled. "The hospital called this morning. They said the account is overdue by 2 weeks. They're threatening to discharge him if we don't pay 600,000 naira by Friday." "I thought Chike was handling it." "Adanna, what's going on? Why is your husband saying these terrible things about you?" "Friday. 3 days away. 3 days to come up with money she didn't have, or watch her father get thrown out of the hospital to die at home." Adanna ended the call and immediately dialed Chidinma. "He's threatening my father," she said, her voice breaking. "The hospital bills. He stopped paying them. I don't have that kind of money. I don't have anything." There was a pause on the other end, then Chidinma's calm, measured voice. "How much is needed?" 600,000 naira by Friday. Consider it handled. I'll wire the money to the hospital within the hour. But I can't pay you back." "You're not paying me back, Adanna. This is an investment in justice. When we seize Chike's assets, we'll recover it tenfold." Chidinma's tone hardened. "But this move he just made? Threatening a sick old man? That's desperation. He's scared. And scared men make fatal mistakes." After hanging up, Adanna felt a small measure of relief wash over her. Her father would be safe. But the relief was short-lived because her phone rang again. This time, a number she didn't recognize. "Hello, Mrs. Okonkwo?" A young woman's voice, professional but urgent. "This is Amara from First Bank of Nigeria, Fraud Investigation Department. We need you to come to our headquarters in Marina immediately. There's been a serious allegation made against you by your husband regarding unauthorized withdrawals from your joint account. Adanna's stomach dropped. What? I haven't touched that account in months. Nevertheless, Mr. Okonkwo had provided evidence that suggests otherwise. If you don't come in for questioning by end of business today, we'll be forced to file a formal complaint with the police. I'm sure you understand the seriousness of fraud charges. The line went dead. Chike was tightening the noose. First, he'd destroyed her reputation among family and friends. Then he'd threatened her father. Now he was setting her up for criminal charges. He was trying to back her into a corner where she'd have no choice but to surrender. But he'd forgotten one thing. Adanna was no longer alone. At First Bank's towering headquarters in Marina, Adanna walked through the glass doors with Chidinma at her side. The lawyer had insisted on accompanying her, briefcase in hand, her presence commanding immediate respect from the security guards and receptionists. They were led to a conference room where a stern-looking woman, in her 50s, sat across from two police officers. This was clearly more serious than a simple bank inquiry. Mrs. Okonkwo, the woman, Amara, began sliding a document across the table. Your husband has accused you of withdrawing 2.3 million naira from your joint account without his knowledge or consent. He claims you did this in retaliation for your marital dispute. Adanna's mouth fell open. That's impossible. I don't even have access to that account anymore. Chike changed all the passwords months ago. Then how do you explain these? Amara produced a series of bank withdrawal slips, each one bearing what appeared to be Adanna's signature. These transactions occurred over the past 2 weeks. The signature matches our records. Chidinma leaned forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a blade. May I see those documents? She examined each slip carefully, then smiled, a cold, knowing smile that made everyone in the room uncomfortable. These are forgeries, Chidinma announced. Poorly executed ones, I might add. Notice the inconsistency in the pressure of the pen's strokes? The slight variation in the loop of the in Adanna? This is a work of someone tracing over a copied signature, not an original. One of the police officers frowned. How can you be certain? Because I'm certain that Mr. Chike Okonkwo has a history of forging his wife's signature, a history I'm prepared to present to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Chidinma pulled out her own folder, laying out the loan documents, the land sale contracts, all bearing forged versions of Adanna's signature. In fact, I believe you'll find that these withdrawal slips were created by Mr. Okonkwo himself to frame his wife after he realized she was about to expose his own fraudulent activities. The room went silent. Amara's expression shifted from stern to shocked as she compared the signatures side by side. Furthermore, Chidinma continued, I have sworn affidavits from 3 handwriting experts who have analyzed Mr. Okonkwo's forgeries. I also have security footage in the bank showing that on 2 of these alleged withdrawal dates, my client was at her father's hospital bedside, nowhere near this branch. Would you like me to provide the hospital's visitor logs and CCTV footage as well? The police officers exchanged glances. One of them spoke up. If what you're saying is true, barrister, then Mr. Okonkwo has committed a serious crime, filing a false police report, forgery, fraud, and bigamy. Chidinma added smoothly, don't forget the bigamy. He married another woman, while still legally married to my client. I have the marriage certificate if you'd like to see it. Amara's face had gone pale. This is extremely serious. We'll need to launch a full investigation into Mr. Okonkwo's activities. I'd suggest you freeze all his accounts immediately, Chidinma said, before he has a chance to move any more money offshore. I believe you'll find he's been transferring funds to a Dubai account under his mistress's name for the past 6 months. How did Chidinma know about Dubai? Adanna stared at her lawyer with new understanding. This woman didn't just have connections. She had an entire intelligence network. Within 30 minutes, the meeting had completely reversed. Adanna walked out of the bank not as a suspect, but as a victim. The police officers assured her they would be visiting Chike's workplace before the end of the day to bring him in for questioning. As they stepped into the blazing afternoon sun, Chidinma turned to Adanna. Chike just made his biggest mistake. He attacked you using the legal system, which means everything is now on record. Every lie, every forgery, every threat. And when this goes to court, he won't have a leg to stand on. Adanna felt tears of relief streaming down her face. Thank you. I don't know how to thank you. Thank me by staying strong. This isn't over yet. Chidinma's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression darkened. We have a problem. Chike's family has been contacted. His mother is in Lagos, and she's requesting a meeting with you. Tonight. His mother? Adanna's relief evaporated. Chike's mother, Lady Beatrice Okonkwo, was a force of nature, wealthy, connected, and fiercely protective of her son. She'd never liked Adanna, always making it clear that her son had married beneath him. She says if you don't meet with her, she'll make sure this becomes a public spectacle. She's threatening to go to the media, to your church, to everyone who will listen. She wants to paint you as a vengeful wife who's destroying a good man's reputation. But that's exactly what Chike is. Adanna protested. I know, but Lady Beatrice has influence. If she turns public opinion against you before we can present our evidence in court, it could complicate things. Chidinma studied Adanna carefully. The question is, are you ready to face her? Because she won't be gentle. Adanna thought about her father lying in that hospital bed. She thought about the cold hallway where Chike had abandoned her. She thought about Ngozi's triumphant laugh echoing through what had been her home. Set up the meeting, she said firmly. I'm done being afraid. The meeting was set for 8 p.m. at a luxury hotel in Victoria Island. As Adanna prepared to leave the safe house, her phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. But she recognized the pattern now. Her mysterious guardian angel. The message contained a single line. Lady Beatrice is bringing more than words to this meeting. She's bringing a contract to buy your silence. Don't sign anything. And don't drink anything she offers you. Adanna's blood ran cold. Don't drink anything? What exactly was she walking into? Lady Beatrice is planning something sinister. Will Adanna survive this meeting, or is she walking into a trap? Drop your predictions in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like button. The Imperial Hotel in Victoria Island was the kind of place where Lagos's elite conducted their most delicate business. Far from the chaos of the streets, insulated by marble columns, crystal chandeliers, and waiters who knew when to be invisible. Adanna walked through the lobby in a borrowed navy dress that Chidinma had provided, her heels clicking against the polished floor with a confidence she didn't entirely feel. Chidinma walked beside her, briefcase in hand. Remember, the lawyer whispered, you're not the one on trial here. No matter what Lady Beatrice says, no matter how she tries to manipulate you, we have the truth on our side. They were led to a private dining room on the 3rd floor. Inside, seated at the head of an elaborate table laden with untouched food, was Lady Beatrice Okonkwo. At 63, she was still striking, her skin smooth and dark, her traditional George wrapper and blouse tailored to perfection, gold jewelry glinting at her neck and wrists. But her eyes were cold, calculating, assessing Adanna like a general sizing up an enemy combatant. Beside her sat a man in an expensive suit, clearly a lawyer, and on her other side, looking smug and vindicated, was Chike himself. Adanna's stomach lurched at the sight of her husband. He looked thinner, stressed, but his eyes held nothing but contempt when they landed on her. Adanna, Lady Beatrice began, not bothering with pleasantries. Sit. It wasn't a request. Adanna sat, with Chidinma taking the seat beside her. Lady Beatrice gestured to the food. I ordered your favorites. Pepper soup, pounded yam, egusi. You must be hungry, living in whatever gutter you found yourself in. The insult was clear. Adanna kept her face neutral. Thank you, but I'm not hungry. Of course not. You're too busy plotting how to destroy my son's life. Lady Beatrice's voice was ice-wrapped in silk. Let me be very clear about something, Adanna. My son is a good man, a man who has provided for you, sheltered you, tolerated your failures as a wife for 15 years. And this is how you repay him? With lies and accusations. Failures. Adanna's voice trembled despite her best efforts. What failures are you referring to, Ma? Don't play innocent with me. You couldn't give him children. You couldn't keep him satisfied in his own home. You drove him away with your constant complaints and neediness. And now you want to punish him for finding happiness elsewhere. Chidinma's hand landed on Adanna's arm, a silent warning not to engage. But the words cut deep, reopening wounds that had never fully healed. Chike leaned forward, his voice dripping with false concern. Adanna, please, let's stop this madness. Mama is here to help us resolve the situation like civilized people. All this legal drama, these accusations, it's not good for either of us. Not good for you, you mean? Adanna shot back, finding her voice. Because the truth is coming out. The forgery, the theft, the bigamy. Bigamy? Lady Beatrice laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. Is that what your lawyer told you? That document is fake. My dear, a fabrication designed to extort money from my family. Ngozi and Chike had a traditional marriage ceremony, a private family affair, not legally binding, certainly not bigamy. Chidinma spoke for the first time, her voice professionally cool. With all due respect, Lady Beatrice, we have certified copies from the marriage registry in Abuja. Your son signed a legal marriage document with Miss Ngozi Okoro 3 weeks ago. That is the definition of bigamy under Nigerian law. The lawyer beside Lady Beatrice cleared his throat. Actually, we believe that document was fraudulently filed by someone seeking to damage Mr. Okonkwo's reputation. We're pursuing legal action against the registry clerk who allegedly processed it. Adanna felt the ground shifting beneath her. Were they actually going to claim the marriage certificate was fake? How deep did their resources go? Lady Beatrice pulled a document from her designer handbag and slid across the table. This is a settlement agreement. Very generous. I might add, you'll receive 1 million naira immediately, plus an additional 500,000 naira paid out monthly for 1 year. In exchange, you drop all legal action, sign a non-disclosure agreement, and leave Lagos permanently. I have family in London who can help you relocate. You can start fresh, away from all this ugliness. Adanna stared at the document. The sum was significant, enough to care for her parents, to rebuild her life. But the NDA clause was clear. She could never speak about Chike, about the affair, about any of it. She would have to swallow her truth and disappear. And if I refuse? Adanna asked quietly. Lady Beatrice's smile never reached her eyes. Then we make things very difficult for you. Your father's hospital. I know people on the board. One phone call and his treatment becomes problematic. Your mother's church, where she's been a member for 30 years. I'm a major donor. How long do you think she'll be welcome there when word spreads about her daughter's vindictive behavior? Your siblings who work in the civil service? Promotions can be delayed. Careers can be destroyed. The threats hung in the air like poison. Adanna felt her chest tightening, the old fear creeping back. But then she remembered the mysterious text. Don't drink anything she offers you. Lady Beatrice gestured to a glass of juice that had been placed in front of Adanna when they arrived. Please, drink something. You look pale. You must be dehydrated from all this stress. Something in the way she said it, too insistent, too concerned, made Adanna's skin crawl. She glanced at Chidinma, who was staring at the glass with barely concealed suspicion. No, thank you, Adanna said firmly. Lady Beatrice's smile tightened. I insist. It's fresh orange juice. Your favorite. She said no. Chidinma's voice cut through the tension. And if you continue to insist, I'll have that drink tested for substances. Would you like me to call the authorities now? Or would you prefer withdraw the offer? The room went deathly silent. Lady Beatrice's mask of civility cracked, revealing cold fury beneath. How dare you accuse me? I'm not accusing. I'm preventing. Chidinma stood, gathering her briefcase. This meeting is over. Lady Beatrice, Mr. Okonkwo, you should know that your intimidation tactics are being recorded. She tapped her purse, where Adanna now noticed a small recording device partially visible. Every threat you made tonight will be submitted as evidence in court, including your admission that you're willing to interfere with a patient's medical care and use your influence to damage innocent family members. Chike shot to his feet. You can't record us without permission. That's illegal. Actually, under Nigerian law, One party consent is sufficient, and my client consented. Chidinma moved toward the door, gesturing for Adanna to follow. We'll see you in court. And Lady Beatrice, you might want to contact your financial advisor. I believe the EFCC will be very interested in how you acquire the funds to make such generous settlement offers. Something about undeclared offshore accounts and tax evasion. Lady Beatrice's face went ashen. You're bluffing. Try me. Chidinma opened the door. Come, Adanna, we're done here. As they walked out, Chike called after them, his voice desperate now. Adanna, wait. Don't do this. You don't know what you're getting into. These people, they're dangerous. They'll destroy you. Adanna paused at the door, turning back to face her husband. For the first time since this nightmare began, she saw fear in his eyes. Real, genuine fear. I'm already destroyed, Chike, she said softly. You made sure of that when you threw me out at midnight. The only difference now is that you're going to pay for it. They were halfway across the hotel lobby when Adanna's phone rang. Her mother. Again. Adanna! Thank God. The hospital called. Someone paid Papa's entire bill, 6 months in advance. They say it was an anonymous donor. Was it you? How did you get that kind of money? Relief flooded through Adanna. Chidinma had kept her promise. But before she could answer, another call came through. This one from her younger brother. Obinna! Sister, something strange is happening. There are police at Chike's office. They're arresting him. It's all over social media. People are saying he's being charged with fraud and forgery. Is this your doing? Adanna looked at Chidinma, who was already on her phone, reading something that made her smile. The wheels are turning, the lawyer said. The bank filed formal charges based on the forged documents. Chike is being taken into custody as we speak. He'll spend tonight in a holding cell, and tomorrow he faces arraignment. That fast? I told you we have friends in high places. Chidinma's smile faded slightly. But Adanna, I need to warn you about something. Lady Beatrice meant what she said about them being dangerous. The Okonkwo family has connections to some very powerful people. People who don't like losing. We need to get you somewhere even safer than the Lecky house. Where? Before Chidinma could answer, the hotel's glass doors exploded inward. Not literally, but the energy of the woman who stormed through them was so fierce it might as well have been an explosion. It was Ngozi. Her makeup was smeared, her designer dress wrinkled, and her eyes were wild with rage and tears. You, she screamed, pointing at Adanna. You destroyed everything. Chike is in jail because of you. His mother just disowned him. His bank fired him. We have nothing. Nothing. Security guards rushed forward, but Ngozi evaded them, charging straight at Adanna with her hands outstretched like claws. You jealous, barren witch. You couldn't keep your husband happy, so you decided to ruin his life. I hope you're satisfied. I hope you... Chidinma stepped between them, her voice sharp as a whip. Touch my client, and I'll add assault to the list of charges. And trust me, Miss Okoro, you don't want any more legal trouble than you already have. What legal trouble? What are you talking about? Ngozi's voice cracked, fear mixing with fury. Your marriage to Chike? It's void, which means every gift he gave you, every naira he spent on you, was stolen from the marital estate. You're an accessory to fraud. The police will be contacting you very soon. The color drained from Ngozi's face. No, Chike said it was legal. He said we'd be together. He said... He lied. Chidinma's voice was almost pitying now. Men like Chike lie to everyone, including their mistresses. You were a convenient weapon to hurt his wife. Nothing more. Ngozi collapsed to her knees, sobbing. Security guards gently pulled her away, and the small crowd that had gathered to watch the spectacle began to disperse. Adanna stood frozen, watching this young woman, this girl, really break down in the middle of a luxury hotel lobby. Part of her felt vindicated, but another part felt something unexpected. Pity? Ngozi had been used too, just in a different way. As they walked to Chidinma's car, Adanna's phone buzzed. Another message from her guardian angel. You did well tonight, but the real test is coming. Chike's family won't stop. They're planning something bigger. Stay vigilant. Trust no one except Chidinma. And whatever you do, don't go back to your parents' house. Chidinma, Adanna said slowly. That message said not to go to my parents' house. Why would they target my family's home? The lawyer's expression turned grim. Because they're going to try to force you out of hiding. If they can't get to you, they'll get to your family. We need to move them somewhere safe. Tonight. But my father just had a stroke. He can't be moved. He can, and he will. I'm making arrangements now. Chidinma was already dialing. Adanna, you need to understand something. This stopped being about a divorce the moment Lady Beatrice walked into that meeting. This is now about power, reputation, and money. The Okonkwo family will do whatever it takes to protect their name, even if it means. An explosion rocked the night. Not close, but close enough. They both turned to look back at the hotel. Flames were shooting from a car in the parking garage. People were screaming, running. Chidinma's face went white. That's Lady Beatrice's car. Within seconds, sirens wailed in the distance. Smoke billowed into the Lagos night sky. And Adanna's phone buzzed one final time. They just made their move. Now everyone knows this is war. An explosion. Is Lady Beatrice hurt? Who's behind this attack? And what will happen to Adanna now that things have turned violent? Comment your theories below and smash that subscribe button. This revenge story is about to get intense. The explosion lit up the Lagos night like a second sun, casting dancing shadows across Victoria Island's elite district. Adanna stood frozen on the sidewalk, her ears ringing from a blast, watching as hotel staff and guests poured out of the building in panic. Fire trucks screamed down the road, their sirens joining a cacophony of car alarms and terrified voices. Get in the car. Now! Chidinma's voice was steel, her hand gripping Adanna's arm hard enough to bruise. They dove into the lawyer's Mercedes and peeled out of the parking lot before the police could lock down the area. Adanna's hands wouldn't stop shaking. Was that meant for us? Did they just try to kill us? I don't know, Chidinma said, her jaw tight as she navigated through traffic with aggressive precision. But we're not waiting around to find out. I'm taking you somewhere they'll never think to look. 20 minutes later, they pulled up to a modest compound in Surulere. Middle class, unremarkable, the kind of place where a wealthy woman being hunted by an even wealthier family could disappear. Chidinma led Adanna up 3 flights of stairs to an apartment that smelled of incense and old books. Inside, an elderly woman with silver-streaked hair looked up from her Bible. Her eyes, sharp despite her age, took in Adanna's terrified expression with understanding. Mama Nkechi, Chidinma said, embracing the woman. This is Adanna. She needs sanctuary. Another one. Mama Nkechi sighed, but there was no judgment in her voice, only weary compassion. Come, my daughter. You're safe here. They always are. As Adanna collapsed onto a worn sofa, Chidinma's phone rang. The lawyer stepped into the kitchen to answer, but Adanna could hear fragments of the conversation. Lady Beatrice is alive, minor injuries, claiming it was an assassination attempt, blaming Adanna. Adanna's blood ran cold. Of course they would blame her. The narrative was already being written. Desperate, vengeful wife tries to murder her husband's family. Never mind that she'd been nowhere near that car. Chidinma returned, her face grave. Lady Beatrice is telling police that you threatened her during the meeting, that you said she'd pay for protecting her son. She's claiming you hired someone to plant that bomb. That's insane. I was with you the entire time. I know, and I have the recording to prove it. But Adanna, this changes everything. They're not just trying to discredit you anymore. They're trying to put you in prison. If they can make these charges stick, even temporarily, you'll be locked up while they destroy all our evidence and buy off witnesses. Mama, Nkechi brought them hot tea, her weathered hands steady. This family, the Okonkwos, they've done this before. Not the bomb. That's new. But the false accusations, the manipulation of police, the destruction of inconvenient women. I've helped 3 wives escape them over the past decade. 3. Adanna whispered. Chike has had other wives? Not Chike. His uncles, his cousins. The Okonkwo men have a pattern. They marry, they cheat, they discard. And when the women fight back, the family closes ranks and crushes them. Mom and Ketchy's eyes hardened. But you have something the others didn't. You have Chidinma, and you have evidence they can't erase. Adanna's phone buzzed. Against Chidinma's warning look, she checked it. Another message from her anonymous ally. The bomb wasn't Lady Beatrice's family. It was someone else. Someone who wants both families destroyed. Check your email. Password, Justice 2025. With trembling fingers, Adanna opened her email. A new message waited, this one containing a video file. She clicked play. The footage was grainy, clearly from a security camera. It showed the hotel parking garage 30 minutes before the explosion. A figure in a maintenance uniform approached Lady Beatrice's car, looked around nervously, then placed something underneath the vehicle before hurrying away. Adanna paused the video and zoomed in on the figure's face. Her breath caught in her throat. It was Ngozi. "Chidinma," she whispered, turning the phone so the lawyer could see. Ngozi planted the bomb. Chidinma's eyes widened. That desperate fool. She thought if she killed Lady Beatrice, Chike would come back to her. She doesn't understand that she was never part of the plan, just a tool to discard Adanna. But why would my anonymous contact have this footage? Who are they? Before anyone could answer, a thunderous knock rattled the apartment door. "Police? Open up." Mama and Ketchy moved with surprising speed, gesturing frantically toward a back bedroom. "The window! There's a fire escape. Go!" But it was too late. The door burst open, splintering at the hinges. 6 officers in tactical gear flooded in, weapons drawn. "Adanna Okonkwo, you're under arrest for attempted murder and conspiracy to commit terrorism." "Terrorism?" Chidinma stepped forward, her voice sharp with authority. "On whose orders? Show me your warrant." The lead officer shoved a document into her hands. Signed by Commissioner Afolabi himself. Mrs. Okonkwo is accused of orchestrating an explosion that injured a prominent citizen and endangered dozens of lives. She's being taken into custody immediately. They handcuffed Adanna roughly, ignoring her protests, ignoring Chidinma's legal objections. As they dragged her toward the door, the lawyer called out, "Don't say anything without me present. Not one word. I'll have you out in hours." But as Adanna was shoved into the back of a police van, she knew it wouldn't be hours. The Okonkwo family had finally made their decisive move, and now she was trapped. The holding cell at Pandy Police Station in Yaba was a nightmare of concrete and despair. Adanna sat on a metal bench alongside prostitutes, petty thieves, and women whose haunted eyes suggested they'd been there far too long. The stench of sweat, urine, and defeat was suffocating. She'd been there for 6 hours. No food, no water, no sign of Chidinma. Her cellmates eyed her expensive borrowed dress with a mixture of curiosity and hostility. One woman, her face scarred and hard, leaned close. "You must have done something big to end up here," she said. "Rich woman like you. What was it? Kill your husband's girlfriend." "I didn't kill anyone," Adanna said quietly. "I'm innocent." The woman laughed bitterly. "We all innocent in here, sister. But innocent don't matter when you got powerful people against you." Hours crawled by. Adanna's mind raced through scenarios, each one worse than the last. What if Chidinma couldn't get her out? What if the Okonkwo family had bribed the judge? What if she was convicted based on false evidence? What if she never saw her father again before he died? Finally, a guard appeared at the cell door. "Adanna Okonkwo, you have a visitor." They led her to a small interrogation room where Chidinma waited. Her professional composure cracked for the first time since they'd met. She looked exhausted, furious, and worried. "I've been fighting to see you for 6 hours," the lawyer said as soon as the guard left. "They're stonewalling me at every turn. The commissioner is refusing to process your bail application until Monday, 3 days from now. They want to keep you locked up over the weekend. Can they do that?" "They're doing it." Chidinma leaned forward, lowering her voice. "But I have good news. I sent that security footage of Ngozi to every news outlet in Lagos. It's already going viral on social media. The police can't ignore evidence of the real bomber when the entire country is watching." Then why am I still here? Because the Okonkwo family is claiming the video is doctored. They're saying you hired someone to frame Ngozi. It's your word against theirs, and they have the commissioner in their pocket. Adanna felt tears burning her eyes. So what do I do? Just sit in that cell and wait while they destroy my life. No. Chidimma's voice dropped even lower. You trust the process I'm about to set in motion. I've contacted some people, very powerful people who owe me favors. By tomorrow morning, this is going to be bigger than the Okonkwo family can contain. But Adanna, you need to be strong for one more night. Can you do that? Adanna thought about her father, her mother, the 15 years she'd wasted on a man who'd thrown her away like trash. The humiliation, the betrayal, the midnight hallway where this nightmare began. Yes, she said firmly. I can. Back in the cell, Adanna tried to sleep, but couldn't. Every sound made her jump. Footsteps in the corridor, keys rattling, distant screams. The city beyond the prison walls hummed with life while she rotted in this concrete box, accused of a crime she didn't commit. Around 2 a.m., when the cell was finally quiet except for snoring and whimpering, a guard appeared again. Okonkwo, come with me. Fear spiked through Adanna. Where are we going? Someone wants to see you. My lawyer? At 2 a.m. Just move. She was led through a maze of corridors to a part of the station she hadn't seen before. Cleaner, quieter, clearly reserved for important visitors. The guard stopped at the door, knocked twice, then opened it. Inside sat a man Adanna had never seen before, mid-50s, well-dressed in traditional ibada, his face carrying the weight of authority. But it was his eyes that caught her attention, sharp, knowing, and somehow familiar. Mrs. Okonkwo, he said, gesturing to a chair. My name is Chief Obinwosu. I believe you've been receiving messages from an anonymous source helping you gather evidence against your husband. Adanna's heart pounded. Who are you? How do you know about those messages? Because I sent them. He smiled slightly. Or rather, my team did. I've been watching the Okonkwo family for 2 years, waiting for the right opportunity to bring them down. And then you came along, the perfect catalyst. I don't understand. Why are you helping me? Chief Nwosu's expression darkened. Because 15 years ago, the Okonkwo family destroyed my daughter. She was married to Chike's cousin. When she tried to divorce him after discovering his abuse, they had her declared mentally unfit. She spent 3 years in a psychiatric facility, drugged and tortured, until she finally took her own life. Adanna's hand flew to her mouth. Oh, God! Since then, I've been gathering evidence against every member of that family. Their fraud, their corruption, their connections to government officials they bribed. But I needed a public case, something that would force the authorities to act. Your situation gave me that opportunity. He leaned forward. But here's what you need to know. Tomorrow morning, everything changes. I'm releasing information to the media that will destroy the Okonkwo family's reputation forever. But there will be backlash. They'll come after you harder than ever. Are you prepared for that? Adanna thought about Ngozi, desperate enough to plant a bomb. Lady Beatrice, willing to drug her own daughter-in-law. Chike, who'd thrown her out at midnight without a second thought. Yes, she said. I'm prepared. Burn it all down. Chief Nwosu nodded approvingly. Good, because by morning you'll be free. The commissioner is about to be arrested for corruption. Your charges will be dropped, and the Okonkwo family will finally face justice. He stood to leave, but paused at the door. One more thing. Your husband sent someone to visit you tomorrow. His mother, actually, she wants to make one final offer. Whatever she says, whatever she promises, refuse. Because the moment you accept anything from them, you become complicit in their crimes. Stay strong, Mrs. Okonkwo. You're almost free. The next morning, Adanna was led from her cell to a private meeting room. Lady Beatrice sat waiting, her arm in a sling from the explosion, her face bruised but her eyes still calculating and cold. Adanna, she began, her voice almost gentle, almost, I'm here to end this madness. All charges against you will be dropped. Chike will grant you a generous divorce settlement. You'll walk out of here today, free and financially secure. All I ask is that you sign the statement saying the explosion was a tragic accident caused by a faulty gas tank. No conspiracy. No attempted murder. Just an unfortunate incident. Adanna stared at the document. Lady Beatrice slid across the table. Freedom was right there, inches away. All she had to do was lie. She thought about Chief Nwosu's daughter, about the other wives who'd been destroyed, about every woman who'd been silenced by powerful men and their enabling families. "No," Adanna said quietly. Lady Beatrice's mask cracked. "You foolish girl. Do you have any idea what you're refusing? You'll rot in here. We'll make sure you're convicted. You'll lose everything." "I've already lost everything." Adanna stood, her voice steady despite the fear coursing through her veins. "You made sure of that when you raised a son who thinks women are disposable. But I'm not signing anything, and I'm not staying silent. Whatever happens to me, the truth about your family is coming out." Lady Beatrice's face contorted with rage. "You'll regret this. I'll destroy your parents. I'll—" The door burst open. Police officers, different ones, wearing EFCC jackets, flooded in. "Lady Beatrice Okonkwo, you're under arrest for corruption, bribery, and obstruction of justice." As they handcuffed her, Lady Beatrice's eyes locked on Adanna's. "This isn't over," she hissed. But Adanna knew it was. The fall had begun. The Okonkwo Empire is crumbling. But is Adanna truly safe? Or is there one more twist waiting? Comment below if you think Chike will try to crawl back. Don't miss the final chapter. Subscribe now and hit that notification bell. 2 months later, Adanna stood on the balcony of her new apartment in Lekki Phase 1, watching the Atlantic Ocean crash against the shoreline in the distance. The morning air was cool, carrying the salt-sweet smell of the sea and the distant sounds of Lagos waking up, generators rumbling to life, street vendors calling out their wares, the eternal symphony of a city that never truly slept. She was free, truly free for the first time in 15 years. The past 8 weeks have been a whirlwind of media coverage, court appearances, and revelations that shook Lagos's elite society to its core. Chief Nwosu had kept his promise. The evidence he'd released destroyed the Okonkwo family's reputation overnight. Bank fraud, tax evasion, bribery of government officials, connections to money laundering operations. Lady Beatrice was awaiting trial in Kirikiri Maximum Security Prison. 3 of Chike's uncles had fled the country. The family's assets had been frozen, their businesses shut down by the EFCC. And Chike, proud, arrogant Chike, had lost everything. His bank job, his apartment, his car, his freedom. He'd been convicted of bigamy, forgery, and fraud, sentenced to 5 years in prison. Ngozi had also been arrested for bombing, facing terrorism charges that could keep her locked up for 2 decades. But the story that dominated every newspaper, every blog, every social media platform wasn't about the Okonkwo family's fall from grace. It was about Adanna, the wife who refused to be silenced, who fought back against domestic betrayal and won. Chidinma had helped her secure a substantial settlement from the liquidation of Chike's seized assets. Not the millions the family once had, but enough. Enough to buy this modest apartment. Enough to ensure her father received the best medical care. Enough to start over. The doorbell rang, pulling Adanna from her thoughts. She checked the security camera, a precaution she'd insisted on, and her heart sank. It was Chike. He stood at her door wearing cheap clothes, his face gaunt and hollow, his once proud shoulders slumped in defeat. He wasn't supposed to be here. His bail conditions explicitly forbade him from contacting her. Yet here he was, looking like a ghost of the man who'd thrown her out at midnight 2 months ago. Adanna's finger hovered over the button to call security. But something made her pause. Curiosity? A need for closure? Or perhaps a desire to see, face to face, what happened to men who thought they could destroy women without consequences? She opened the door but left the security chain engaged. "You're not supposed to be here, Chike. I could have you arrested just for showing up." "I know." His voice was hoarse, broken. "Please, Adanna. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Against her better judgment, she unchained the door and let him in. He stood in her small living room, so different from the luxury apartment they'd shared, looking around like he was visiting a foreign country. "Nice place," he said weakly. "You've done well for yourself." "What do you want, Chike?" He turned to face her, and she saw tears in his eyes. Real tears. "I came to beg for your forgiveness. For everything I did to you. The cheating, the lies, throwing you out, trying to frame you for crimes I knew you didn't commit. I was a monster. Adanna's voice was ice. "You mean you're not anymore? What changed? The fact that you got caught? Or the fact that you lost everything?" "Both. Neither. I don't know." He ran his hands through his thinning hair. "These past 2 months in that holding cell, waiting for trial, I've had time to think, to really see what I did. Adanna, you were a good wife. You stood by me through everything. And I destroyed you because I was selfish and stupid and thought I could have whatever I wanted without consequences. And Ngozi, where is she in all this remorse?" Chike's face twisted with disgust. "That girl tried to kill my mother. She destroyed what was left of my family's reputation. She was never what I thought she was, just a gold digger who saw an opportunity and took it. I was an idiot to choose her over you." There it was, the real reason he was here. Not genuine remorse, but regret over choosing the wrong option. He didn't miss Adanna. He missed what she represented. Stability, loyalty, a woman who has stood by him even now. If he hadn't been so cruel. "So you came here for what exactly?" Adanna asked. "You want me to speak to the judge? Ask for leniency in your sentencing? Maybe write a letter saying what a good man you really are?" "No. Yes. I don't know." Chike's voice cracked. "I just need you to know that I'm sorry. That I see now what I had and what I threw away. That if I could go back to that night, that midnight when I kicked you out, I would do everything differently." "But you can't go back," Adanna said softly. "None of us can. That's the point, Chike. Actions have consequences. You made your choices. You brought Ngozi into our home. You forged my signature. You tried to have me arrested for crimes you knew I didn't commit. You threatened my dying father to manipulate me. Those aren't mistakes. Those are choices. I know. I know that now." He dropped to his knees, actually groveling on her floor. "Please, Adanna, I'm begging you. They're going to send me to Kirikiri. Do you know what happens to men like me in that place? I won't survive 5 years. Please, I'll do anything. Anything." Adanna looked down at this man who'd once towered over her, who'd made her feel small and worthless and disposable. Now he was on his knees, begging for mercy he'd never shown her. "Get up, Chike." He stood slowly, hope flickering in his eyes. "I'm not going to help you," Adanna said clearly. "Not with the sentencing. Not with anything. You made your bed. Now you have to lie in it. But I will tell you something. Something I've learned over these past 2 months." She stepped closer, looking him directly in the eyes. "That night you kicked me out at midnight. You thought you were destroying me. You thought I was nothing without you. No job, no money, no power. Just a barren wife with insomnia that annoyed you. But you know what you actually did? You freed me." Chike's face crumpled. "Adanna, you freed me from the prison of a loveless marriage. From the burden of trying to please someone who would never be satisfied. From the lie that I was the problem, that I wasn't enough. You showed me exactly who you were, and you showed me who I could be without you." Tears streamed down Chike's face. "So that's it? You're just going to let me go to prison? Watch me suffer? I'm not letting you do anything. You did this to yourself." Adanna walked to the door and opened it. "But I'll tell you what I won't do. I won't celebrate your suffering. I won't gloat over your downfall. Because I'm not like you, Chike. I don't get joy from other people's pain. I just want you out of my life so I can finally heal. What about us? What about 15 years of marriage? Those 15 years taught me everything I needed to know about what I don't want. Now I get to spend the rest of my life building what I do want. Goodbye, Chike." He stood frozen for a moment, then walked slowly to the door. At the threshold, he turned back one last time. "I really am sorry, Adanna. For whatever it's worth. It's worth exactly what you thought I was worth when you threw me out at midnight," she said quietly. "Nothing." She closed the door on him, and on that chapter of her life, for the final time, later that afternoon, Adanna met Chidinma at a cafe in Ikoyi. The lawyer was beaming, a rare, genuine smile on her usually professional face. "I have news," Chidinma said, sliding a folder across the table. "Remember that teaching position you applied for at the international school? They want you, full-time with benefits, starting next month." Adanna's heart soared. She'd been a teacher before marrying Chike, back when she'd had dreams and ambitions beyond being someone's wife. Getting back into education felt like reclaiming a lost part of herself. "That's wonderful. But won't my story be a problem? All the media coverage." "On the contrary, the school board was impressed by your strength and resilience. They said you're exactly the kind of role model they want for their students, someone who faced adversity and came out stronger." Chidinma's smile widened. "Plus, the principal is a divorced woman who went through her own battle with a cheating husband. She said she wishes she'd had the courage to fight back like you did." As they celebrated with wine and pepper soup, Adanna's phone buzzed. A text from her mother. "Papa is awake and asking for you. The doctors say he's improving. Come to the hospital when you can." Joy flooded through Adanna. Her father, who she'd feared would die during all this chaos, was getting better. Her family was intact. She had a job, a home, her freedom, and her dignity. Everything Chike had tried to take from her, she'd won back, plus something she'd never had before, the knowledge that she could survive anything. "You know what the best part is?" Adanna said to Chidinma. "I'm not angry anymore. I thought revenge would feel like victory, like I'd conquered something. But it doesn't. It just feels like relief, like I can finally breathe again." "That's because real revenge isn't about destroying your enemies," Chidinma said wisely. "It's about rebuilding yourself so completely that they become irrelevant. Chike's prison sentence isn't your revenge. Your happiness is." 3 weeks later, on her first day at the international school, Adanna stood before a classroom of bright-eyed teenagers, ready to teach English literature. As she introduced herself, she made a decision. "Before we start," she said, "I want to tell you something about resilience, about how sometimes life will knock you down so hard you think you'll never get back up, about how people you trust will betray you, about how the world will judge you for fighting back instead of staying silent." The students leaned forward, sensing something important. "A few months ago, I lost everything. My marriage, my home, my sense of identity. But I learned something crucial. You're not defined by what happens to you. You're defined by how you respond, by whether you let adversity break you or make you stronger." A girl in the front row raised her hand. "Miss Adanna, how did you know you were strong enough to fight back?" Adanna smiled. "I didn't. I was terrified every single day. But I fought anyway. And that's what courage really is, not the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it." As the class began discussing the themes of betrayal and resilience in their first novel study, Adanna felt a profound sense of peace wash over her. This was where she was meant to be, not in some luxury apartment, pretending to be happy, not sacrificing her dreams for a man who didn't value her, but here, making a difference, sharing her story, helping others find their own strength. That evening, as she returned to her apartment, she found an envelope slipped under her door. Inside was a handwritten note from Chief Nwosu. "Dear Adanna, thank you for being brave enough to speak your truth. Because of you, 3 more women have come forward with evidence against abusive husbands. The network of women, helping women grow stronger every day. My daughter would be proud of what you've accomplished. I hope you find the peace and happiness you deserve. With deepest respect, Chief Obi Nwosu." Adanna placed a note on her refrigerator, next to a photo of her parents and a quote she'd written on a sticky note. She was powerful not because she wasn't scared, but because she went on so strongly despite the fear. Her phone buzzed one final time. A message from Chidinma. "Just heard from my contact at Kirikiri. Chike is asking for another visit with you. Do you want me to deny it?" Adanna typed a response without hesitation. "Yes. I have nothing left to say to him. I'm moving forward." And she was, not with anger or bitterness, but with hope for a future she would build on her own terms. Hope for love that honored rather than diminished her. Hope for a life where midnight wouldn't bring terror and abandonment, but peace and possibility. She'd kicked Chike out of her heart, her mind, and her future. And, unlike him, she'd done it with dignity. The insomnia that had plagued her during those dark months of her marriage? Gone. Now she slept soundly, dreaming not of revenge, but of all the beautiful tomorrows waiting for her. Chike had crawled back begging, just like the title of her story promised. But Adanna had learned the most important lesson of all. Some doors, once closed, should stay closed forever. She was free. She was strong. She was enough. And she was finally, beautifully happy. The end. What an incredible journey. From being kicked out at midnight to reclaiming her power and dignity, Adanna showed us what true strength looks like. What was your favorite moment in this story? Comment below. Did Chike get what he deserved? Drop a like if you're proud of Adanna. And don't forget to subscribe to Echoes of Africa for more powerful stories of resilience, betrayal, and triumph. Share this with every strong woman in your life who needs to hear that they are enough. Which story should we tell next? Comment your suggestions below. Remember, you are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you rise from it. Stay strong, stay blessed, and we'll see you in the next story.